Empire.
The third time's a charm? Well, we shall see. Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor and subscribe to the John Conn Report wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media. That's AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you tune in. And don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. I have a story up now about the Commanders' win over the Lions, what went into it, and just really about the drought and how it ends and just the emotions attached to all that. You guys know all that. So, but it's up on ESPN.com now, and I'll have a story later in the week on a quarterback that you might know pretty well right now. Anyways, it's the Eagles. Washington will play the Eagles at 3 p.m. on Sunday for a trip to the Super Bowl. This is as good as it can get, folks. If you want intensity, you want drama, this is what you're going to get. And obviously, two very good teams. Third time, man, and they split during the regular season. You know all that. We're going to get into Eagles throughout the week, and we're going to talk for a few minutes about other topics regarding Washington based on what we learned from Dan Quinn on Sunday and just some other thoughts about Jaden Daniels and how he handled the blitz, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But first of all, let's get just real quick about this matchup. A couple things. We know that Sam Cosmi will not be there. He tore his ACL. He's out. He's going to need surgery. That's going to be a tough one when you're facing Jalen Carter. You got to get somebody in there who can really handle him. Trent Scott went in there and did a good job against the Detroit Lions. This is a different situation, though, with Jalen Carter. And listen, man, he's given Cosmi fits at times. He's going to give anybody fits. So it's just a hard guy to deal with. And that would be, so what Dan Quinn said is that clearly, Trent Scott went in, did a good job, but, they're going to look at the matchup, see what they want to do, see what works best. But it's hard to imagine, will either be he or Michael Dieter. And it's hard to imagine not being Trent Scott. They both have experience playing guard. Scott has worked mostly at tackle until Sunday, but he does work at guard during scout team drills, et cetera, during the week. So I would kind of think that's where they would go. Quinn's not going to say it right now, but that's what I would think. And we'll see. But because that is a major, major matchup. Obviously, Saquon Barkley, you got to stop him. We know all that. John Allen being back for this one, that's a big deal for Washington too, because you can go to that 3D tackle alignment with Deron Payne at end and Newton and Allen in the middle, with another big end with Jalen Carter or Javonte Jean-Baptiste, Dorrance Armstrong, whomever, right? So you can do all that with that now. It's going to come down to health for the Eagles, or not going to come down to, but a big part of this is the health of the Eagles. Cornerback Quinyon Mitchell went out with the shoulder injury against the Los Angeles Rams. Jalen Hurts clearly looked banged up, and he left the game to get his knee checked out. So we'll see where they're at health-wise. The forecast, by the way, is for much better than it was on Sunday. Right now, it's like the mid to upper 30s on Sunday, so it should be clear and nice. But again, the weather at this time of the year, check back in a few minutes and it could change. And then you, of course, have another game where it's Marshawn Lattimore against A.J. Brown, and that did not go so well in the first game. Latimore's coming off a solid game against the Lions. They kept him on one side. I don't know that they're going to rotate. I think you can keep him on a side, and on this one, it seems like they like that. So we'll see what happens there. But it is a matchup that went A.J. Brown's way. In the first game, there were a couple penalties, and we'll see where Lattimore's at now that he gets to play a third game in a row. I think that's kind of key, because the more you play, the more you feel you get in that rhythm, et cetera. So I think that's going to be a big key to watch. And I will have stuff for you each day throughout the week. Bram and I will be doing our live stream show Tuesday, 7:30. Going to have Jay Gruden on again, get stuff on the Eagles. And as much as we can, I get my 5 things for Saturday. So basically every day this week, folks, look for something from me for the podcast, just to keep you informed. And just because there's so much momentum, this is an unbelievable run. And it's, let's take advantage of this and let's just talk football all week, because what else is there that you'd want to talk about more than that right now? So there we go. Now, I want to get into Jaden Daniels and the blitz, because I thought that was terrific against the Lions. But I'm going to get to just a couple things from Quinn first. One of the things he talked about was just he liked how well that Lattimore played against the Lions, and they kept him mostly on a side. And really, you know what? That's about it. There's not. He did talk about the details that with the operation, getting these players ready, et cetera. But I think the Jaden Daniels blitz stuff is a little bit more interesting. So let's go in there. And I think that's a growth, to me, that's a growth area. He's always been good about it, good against pressure outside of the Dallas games. But to me, there were some things in there that were just like even higher, even at a higher level against the Lions. I think that's just a really, really good sign. How he maybe the couple times, like there were a couple times where maybe in the past he would have predetermined something, didn't do it this time, and it worked out. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute as well. So I felt like the poise he showed in the pocket, like it was 11 for 15 for 201 yards and no sacks against the blitz. Most of those, though, there was one throw that I thought was just a bad throw by him. He just missed. It was Terry McLaurin on a slant inside the red zone, and it was right before Ertz converted the 4th and 3. But he has McLaurin on a slant, and he just put it to him. He may have scored on that one. So, but again, they ended up scoring on the drive. They got converted the 4th down, so it didn't hurt him. But really, that's probably about the only bad throw. Like he had a throwaway that I thought was good. He missed on one, but I thought he put it in a spot where your guy's going to get it or not on a little out by the I think it was by Eckler. And and then De'Ami Brown dropped one, but he more than made up for it. And by the way, I didn't realize that when he caught that 38-yarder, he's got a hand in his face, man. That was pretty damn impressive. So good for De'Ami because he's really worked to get to this point and having a hell of a playoff series. But with the again with the stuff against the blitz, I just want to talk about this for a minute. The poise. He would sprint away from pressure a couple of times. It's like he really felt the pressure. There was one time on I think the deep one to De'Ami where he feels the defensive end coming in from his blind side, and then he just takes 2 steps and to his right, calmly 2 steps to his right, and just launches it. Doesn't panic. That's a great example there. The start of a new year is the perfect time to get organized, set goals, and prioritize what matters most. For me, a top priority is my financial wellness, which feels more important than ever. Thanks to Rocket Money, my goals feel achievable. They show me all of my subscriptions right in one place and help me easily cancel ones that I forgot I've been paying for. Rocket Money also pulls together all of my spending across all of my different accounts, so I can clearly track my spending habits and see where I can cut back. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/gameon today. That's rocketmoney.com/gameon today. rocketmoney.com/gameon. There's a 24-yarder to Austin Eckler early in the game where you got a guy coming bearing down on him, and it just flipped out to Eckler, who did a good job chipping, and then Jeremy McNichols goes over to pick up the guy that he had chipped. But it's just a really good job, again, staying poised. And also on that play, you watch McNichols. After Eckler catches it, McNichols, he's blocking his guy, just hauls butt down the field and gets ahead of Eckler at the end and just drills a guy just as the whistle's blowing, just getting out there to block. But the effort is what stood out to me. I mean, he hauled his butt down there. And I think I like watching guys like that. And I said this after the game, but that's when you watch his touchdown. I feel like it's that same kind of mindset mentality that made the difference in that touchdown because he had to fight for extra yards. But when you play that way, you're going to get those extra yards. I felt like Jaden Daniels, again, used his legs to get away from some of the pressure. Didn't have to run. It's just to get away from the pressure. And, again, whether it might just be to sprint a little bit, sprint rollout or whatever, I felt like he was decisive. He had the pass to Terry McLaurin. It was a 11-yard gain, and it was a 2nd down and 6. They send guy in motion, and it was Zach Ertz. And then they're coming. He just hits a quick out. It looks like it's against a quarters coverage. I was a little bit surprised. I wasn't quite understanding what Detroit was trying to do with that coverage because they pretty much gave McLaurin that route. but it was just a decisive throw, knowing where to go with the ball. Loved the 4th and 3 play by Daniels, and here's why. First of all, the design is really good too. So I think it's, you look at that and I think you get the design, you get the execution. It's really a good thing to watch. So on that play, you have McLaurin running a slant. It's man coverage. You have him running a slant to the inside. Well, where does he typically like to go in that situation? He likes to go to McLaurin because he likes that slant. It's man to man. If it's man, you're reading man to man, they're expecting you to go to that. But and the Lions know this. So they dropped a linebacker, started dropping to that slant area, and he widens out of the middle. They blitz two guys up the middle. And so what was good on that play is Daniels reads that. He sees the linebacker dropping. Well, Ertz takes advantage and just curls to the middle. Just a good play design to have him getting there. And good job by Daniels by reading it, getting it to Ertz, getting the first down. So, but it was set up because they were trying to con him into throwing that slant to McLaurin, thinking he had man coverage with no help, but they did have somebody dropping there, and just a really good job by Daniels. Just to, again, I think earlier in the season, there are times where he would predetermine some reads in there and he would get into a little bit of trouble with it. Here, he may have predetermined where he wanted to go, but he read it and then where it went where he needed to go. So just a good job. Good awareness. I felt like Brian Robinson blocked with good awareness at times, and not just times, I did overall in the game. There was one time where there was pressure coming to the middle. They had a linebacker, there's a linebacker stunt. So you have one guy blocking down, going down on Biotish to block him with another linebacker stunning around, where Robinson comes up and picks up that guy and creates time for Daniels on the touchdown to McLaurin. Another good job by McDaniels, because here's the reason. Now it's looks like an RPO with faked run to Eckler. Eckler's going to run to the right. He's got pulling action going that way. So obviously you may fake it to him, right? But I know, like, an RPO doesn't necessarily, you have the option what you want to do. So, but if he doesn't make a decisive if he's not decisive on that play, then it could mess it up a little bit, because the Lions send two guys off the edge there. Well, instead of just really worrying about the fake, he takes and just whips it to McLaurin right away, splits two guys, touchdown. So I think it was just understanding that these guys are coming. That's my responsibility, because the line was all going to the right. They're coming off the offensive left side. So if you don't get rid of that ball decisively, it's either going to be batted down or you're going to be sacked. But because he was decisive, because he's like, wasn't going to read somebody in coverage, he was reading the pressure and getting rid of the ball. So just a really good job by Daniels there. And again, just the one bad throw in that situation. But I think working against that pressure now, the Eagles haven't always sent a lot of blitzes with him, so I'll be curious to see what they do. But it's more just his ability to consistently handle the pressure. Any kind of pressure is really, really impressive for somebody his age. But it was what I liked with this offense is I felt like they were well prepared. I felt like that Daniels had answers from the coaches. That's one thing all players want, is the why or the what. Like, what if this happens? What do you do? You got this. And what if this happens? Well, you got this. So it was clear. I felt like the line did a good job protecting him in those situations. There were a couple times he got hit, but he helps the line by getting rid of the ball. Like, it's not going to be perfect all the time, and these linemen know it. That's why, by the way, this is something I noticed when I went back and watched when Daniels was mic'd up against the Falcons. You know what jumped out to me? I mean, all the stuff he's talking about. But during that time where he was crouching down, got the wind knocked out of him, it's when Mariota came over to him. But you know who else came over to him? Almost everybody on offense. Like, that shows you, to me, that reveals their thoughts and their feelings toward Daniels. I mean, we've seen it the opposite, right? We've seen where a guy gets hit and is on the ground and nobody's really helping him up. But here you had, Mariota comes out there, but Cosme comes over there and puts his arms around him, asks him if he's okay. Allegretti comes over and taps him on the butt. Ertz comes over there and says something to him. A couple other guys came over to him as well, just to check on him. That's the respect they have and the admiration they have and the affection they have for Daniels, because when you see that, you know that there's some genuine caring about what's going on. So I saw that today, and I just wanted to point it out to go with all this. But today was really about, they're playing the Eagles. I want to talk a little bit about the blitz, because I thought he was tremendous in that area, and it's the most yards he's thrown against the blitz this season. So I think that was just a really good job. It was the only way the Lions were going to stop him. If they could get to him, they could not. He made them pay time and time again, because, again, preparation, execution, decisiveness, but also not just locking onto a guy and then doing that, because that saved him. It could have been a pick if he had done that, and that would have been a disaster. Instead, you end up with 4th down and 3 to Ertz, and you end up scoring a touchdown on that drive. So little things like that add up, but it starts with Daniels. And again, I don't know if it's growth or as much as it just continued improvement in that area, because he was good against this early in the year. It's just that I think there's some areas where it feels like there's some subtleties with it. And then also I felt like the preparation and the execution were very, very good. So anyways, folks, that's it for me. I'll be back on Tuesday morning with another episode. And then again, Tuesday night with Bram Weinstein, the voice of the Commander 7:30 live stream. And then we'll keep you rolling throughout the week, because we've got another week of football. How about that, folks? Enjoy it. There you go. Talk to you next time.